The second assessment we're going to do in this sequence is the body scan. And I know this one's pretty common in the movement and health space, but it took me a long time to really figure out what the hell I was doing in this position. And I know how frustrating it could be to be laying down and someone doing some meditation and the cues just don't really hit, right? So we're going to do it a little bit differently, where I'm going to ask you specific things to pay attention to in your body. And then as you do this body scan in your routines, before your routines, you're going to notice how it feels. And then you're going to notice how that exact sensation or body or area of the body feels after your routines. And that's really it. It's just noticing how the body feels different, and even more specifically, how different the body's making contact with the ground before the routines compared to after. So keep it simple, understand the intention, and that'll be it, right? Even though the intention is simple, or even though we're simplifying it, it doesn't mean it doesn't have profound influence, right? And how it can't make big changes in your movement practice. So there's a reason why it's so popular and common, but in this body scan and in this assessment, we're gonna figure out why, and we're gonna give you some direction in this position. Okay, so let's lay down. And get into a position where you feel relatively relaxed, right? Your hands are out to the sides like this. And I'm gonna grab the mic with my left hand. So whatever I'm doing with my right hand over here, and I'll make sure you can see that there, I'm doing with my left hand. And I'll tell you now, it's not much, right? So we're really just laying here. As always, I start with some breathing. And we're gonna start with the heels, okay? So first thing we're going to pay attention to is how is the left heel making contact with the ground compared to the right one. And if there's some obvious difference, note that. That's all we need. We don't need to make this super complicated. And if there's no difference, and if it feels like it's the same on both sides, good. Keep moving. Let's move on now to our calves. How do the calves feel? How are they making contact with the ground? And if any other obvious sensation jumps at you other than the waist making contact with the ground, just note that as well. Moving on to the back of the knees and the hamstrings, the back of the thighs. How does that feel? Any obvious sensation there? How does it feel from side to side? Is there any obvious differences? Moving now to the back of our butt, our glutes, the hips. How are they making contact with the ground? Does one side feel significantly different than the other? Does the symptomatic hip have a certain sensation or energy around it that the other one doesn't? Moving on to the low back. How does the left side of the back feel compared to the right side of the low back? Usually this area of the spine and how it makes contact with the ground is noticeably different for people. So pay special attention to this area, and pay special attention to any obvious sensations or other energies that come up, because it's also common to experience a lot of stuff happening here, right? And now we're going to move to the mid back, and same thing, noticing if there's any obvious sensations there that come to your awareness. Also noticing the difference with how it's making contact with the ground today. And then the shoulders and upper back, and this is another common area for there to be a difference from side to side. So pay special attention to whether you can notice anything happening there in your body today. And then moving on to the arms and the shoulders. Does one side of the upper arm feel like it's making contact differently? Maybe the hand's more open, or maybe it's more closed. Subtle details matter, because it could show you what exercises and what routines make a change in your body. So then moving down to your hands, another thing that you can notice is, are the fingers touching on one hand as opposed to the other? They're not. Maybe one of the hands is closed more to the ground as opposed to the other side. And then coming back up, going to the neck and the head. Is the head twist it in a certain way? Does it feel like it wants to rotate? And then take one big breath and just take one more nice overview of the whole body, seeing if there's anything else jumping at you. And like I said in the prior assessment, in the supine reset assessment, don't try to find too much at once. You don't want to overcomplicate this. If you could just find one obvious discrepancy from side to side in one day, that's great. Job well done for that day. If you're treat this as a lifetime practice, you have plenty of time and opportunity to identify more things that happen in your body. Okay? So again, keep it simple, and this will be the assessment you work on in this sequence.